consultants are always, looking for work. We're always in between jobs. I needed a way to kind of generate some business for the consulting firm. And somebody, this is 2020 now, everybody was at home because of the pandemic, and somebody said, well, why don't you just start a podcast, because it's a great way to get content out there, and it's also a good way to connect with people in the industry. And I started the Better Outcomes show about that time, and really the idea was, in my mind, like, it was a um totally selfish project. It allowed me to have conversations with people who would not otherwise give me time to have conversations. So I just reached out to a bunch of people that I thought were doing cool things in the healthcare space, and just having a conversation, right? So, like, early on, my early guests were one of the first people to do like direct primary care here in the US. We had a couple technology companies, a couple clinicians that were involved in like cutting edge clinical research, and that's kind of the way the show has been over the last 149, 150 episodes, is really just cool people that are smart people doing interesting things in healthcare. And then we the underlying current that we try to tie it back to is, how do we use this information, or how does this work help the healthcare industry as a whole become more human focused, whether that be the people, the humans delivering the care, or the end recipients of healthcare, the patients themselves. And yeah, I've been doing that for the last 8 years. In addition to that, I also own a physical therapy practice here in Augusta, Georgia, since about 2020 as well. So kind of got my hands in a few different things.
Yeah, yeah, I can totally see that. And I am curious about the podcast itself, Better Outcomes. I have a couple questions
Sure.
about that. So let's get into that. First of all, you mentioned why you started the podcast, to selfishly generate business and open up conversations. I can certainly relate to that because that's one of the beautiful things about running a podcast. But you have got 150 episodes out now. So obviously it must have worked out for you in a pretty big way. Would you say is that the same reason you're continuing the podcast, or like what's keeping you going with it?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's kind of on, I hate to say autopilot, but we have people reaching out to us a lot to be on the show, and luckily my assistant does a great job of screening and kind of looking for the criteria. But it's one of those things that I love, having conversations with people that are doing interesting things. So if it's something that is a cool idea, I'm going to have a conversation. And I've got just time blocked out in my calendar, like on, this day at this time, Rafi's exploring this topic with whoever it is. And sometimes they get turned into podcast episodes, sometimes they don't. We just kind of take it one day at a time. But yeah, it's really, at this point, what's keeping me going is the fact that, because you're not, at least I'm not locked into like any specific thing. I'm just kind of, innovation in healthcare is kind of one of those ever changing things. There's usually something, like some shiny object that's attracting my attention. It's like, oh, I want to dig into that topic a little bit, or I want to dig into this kind of business model a little bit. Let's find somebody that's involved in that and get them on the show.